Hello, my mathematicians! This is Miss Foster, and I'd like to talk with you about simplifying fractions. Part of your painting pieces work is to present your fractions in their simplest form. And I would like to just take a moment to show that to you because it's a super important skill to have working with fractions, but it's also a little tricky, as all fractions are. Working with pieces and parts is way more difficult than working with whole things. For this court recording, I went back to one of our introductory geometric paintings, and I've taken out just this part of it. I'm going to treat this as my whole painting. Now, as with all painting pieces work, you get to decide what the colors are. And you can see here that I decided the colors were going to be light gray, dark gray, white, orange, and blue. The other thing you have to do is pick a common denominator for all your pieces. You can see here that I could have done squares, but that doesn't give me equal pieces of one color. So instead, I went with 12, because there are 12 right triangles in my example painting here. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Now, I've labeled them, and we can see that I labeled 2 triangles as being light gray. That's 2 pieces. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces dark gray, 5, 2 white, 2, 2 orange, 2, and just 1 blue one. Now, the way I'm going to write the rest of my fractions in my smartboards for the rest of the year, and probably for life, is instead of writing them like this in this vertical form, I'm going to use this slanted form. The reason why is that writing this vertical form of fractions on Smartboard is so hard. It's really, really hard. So instead, we're going to just tilt that fraction and kind of write it next to each other. I hope you can see how this right here is almost the same as this. But if I were to write my fractions using this way of seeing them, light gray is 2/12, the numerator and the denominator, dark gray 5/12, white 2/12, orange 2/12, and blue 2/12. So how can I simplify those? So just to make things even a little easier for all of us, I kind of converted my painting into what I think of as a chocolate bar, but I'll call this a painting. I just love those big chocolate bars you get with all the squares, and then you can break them apart. We're going to be simplifying fractions using the greatest common factor. And the factor is what can we divide those numbers by that's the same for both the numerator and the denominator. Now here's my whole painting, and I've divided up into 12 pieces. So 1 out of 1 pieces is 12 out of 12. Let's take a look now, though, at just the gray part here. I'm going to grab a light gray pen. And here we can see that I have 2/12, which are light gray. Now, to simplify this, I'm going to try to make my pieces bigger. And so this is the one part of math that I think is magical. I think math is this beautiful study of logical thinking and relationships and patterns. But when we simplify fractions, we're literally taking away cuts. And when I break up my chocolate bar here, I can't stick it back together again. It just doesn't work. But with math, it does. Check this out. So I'm going to figure out the greatest common factor between 2 and 12. And I believe that's 2. 2 can be divided by 2. 12 can be divided by 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide them by 1. Except I'm not going to write 1 like this, nor am I going to write it like this. Instead, I'm going to write 1 as 2 halves. Now we can agree that if you have 2 pieces in the chocolate bar and you get both of them, then that's 1 whole chocolate bar that you got, right? So we're just going to divide 2/12 by 1, represented as 2 halves. And I'm going to show you how that actually works with stuff over here. So if I do 2 divided by 2 in the denominator, that would be 1. But what you're literally doing, this is so cool, is you are uncutting it. You're changing the number of pieces and making it simpler. Now, if I had you come up and grab a piece of chocolate and I said, get 2/12, no one would take these 2. The first people up there will grab these. Trust me, I've done this in class. Here's the deal, though. With fractions, you have to have equal pieces. And so you can see here on this that the pieces are no longer equal. So I'm going to have to deal with that by also dividing the denominator. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. And let me show you how that literally works with stuff. This is like me uncutting the pieces. Look at this. And all the pieces will be the same size once I'm done uncutting them. And you can see that when I took 12 and divided by 2, all of the pieces got bigger, but now we have fewer pieces. Remember, with fractions, we're never getting more of an amount when we multiply or divide. We are only changing the size of the pieces or the number of pieces in the whole thing. Let's take a look at this problem right here with 5 twelfths in the denominator, or for the light gray, the dark gray. What is the greatest common factor of 5 and 12? You know what? It's already 1. And if the only common factor is 1, then you've found your simplest form. So we're done with that way. Let's scroll on down and take a look at 1/12. Can we simplify 1/12? Or is it already in its simplest form? Well, the only factor for 1 is 1. So we've definitely found its simplest form. Let's keep on going down. We're done with that one. How about if we check out the whites? Well, I have 2/12 here. We know already that 12 and 2 have a common factor of 2. So I'm going to divide it by 2 halves. And when I do that on the top, once again, 2 divided by 2 is 1. And I'm going to get rid of that cut. I'm going to make the pieces smaller, but if I do it for the numerator, I really have to do it for the whole thing, because in fractions, the pieces have to be the same size. So let me quickly say that 12 divided by 2 is 6, and I will just quickly show you how we have uncut this one. Uncut, 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 and uncut. And you see where I take the cuts away, it changes the number of pieces. Your challenge when you turn in your painting with pieces work is to always give your fractions in their simplest form. If you already turned in your work and didn't do that, go back and do it again. Keep working with this stuff, guys. We're sticking with this all this week and all next. I love you. I miss you. Have fun playing with fractions, and thanks for playing math with me. Bye-bye.